Hey, pal.
Yeah.
We finally made it. We're finally swapping out different V8s in a V8 swap truck.
I guess. Is this the American dream?
This is the American dream right here.
I don't think this is the American dream.
I don't think it is either. All right, guys, so if you didn't know, we busted the 305, or something busted in the 305, but
I don't know exactly what.
and it's pretty not good. And if you haven't seen the video, Eric, why don't you pull out your phone and let's just show them what happened. Or we just have a mess still. No, that's pretty good. Pretty good cleaning up there. More than a mess. Yeah. But yeah, so we got the 350 out of a 95 Vet.
Which this one should work with our intake. This one, the two very middle bolts, they don't line up. They're drilled at a different angle. These ones are straight down, which should line up with our intake.
Yeah. So basically, well, and this is just going to be a better. So this is going to be a better platform.
Aluminum heads.
Aluminum heads. This is more powerful, straight for straight, than what we were running with. So that's good.
Got a pretty good deal on it.
Really, yeah, we really did. And we're going to be pulling everything apart here and taking the radiator out, taking the engine out. Probably at a later date, we're going to tear the engine down and just see if we can tell what actually is going out on it right now. It's not like catastrophically done.
It's like a wrist pin or a crank bearing. We're not 100% sure.
Yeah.
We won't know until we take the pan off, look at the crank, and start pulling the pistons out.
Right. So, but either way, you know, we got to do a promo video for the burnout comp. So we've got to get everything pulled apart and get it swapped in. And because of that, for the time being, we are going to go back to NA.
Yep.
We're not gonna chase the twin turbo.
Turbos are just
at this point.
Too much to...
For right now. I mean, just we've been, you know, obviously we got full-time jobs and everything, and it is just we don't have enough time to sacrifice to really be able to tune this in and get what we want out of it and make the best decisions for the new engine. So the 305 was kind of in a way a throwaway engine.
Yeah, we
went
into this full well knowing that this motor probably would not survive. So
yeah.
We just thought it would last longer than it did.
Yeah, but either way, so we're gonna get started on that, and that's pretty much it. I mean, just get that out, and then we'll get the other one in and go back to the original tuning that we had in the carb, and hopefully we can get out there this weekend maybe and
hopefully
and do some shit. But all right.
So as you can see, we got the motor out. We're gonna put it on an engine stand so we can tear it apart at a later date. But we gotta take the clutch and the flywheel off because we're gonna need that for the new engine. But that's pretty much all we got left for now until we, do you want to tear down that motor tonight?
Yeah. I figured. I don't really know. I mean, I figure once we have the stuff, we can.
Yeah, because we gotta get intake gas. Well, actually, I think those intake gaskets are fine. But I don't know. We might tear that one down. We might not. Probably not. But.
Alright guys, that's going to be it for tonight. Got the engine pulled, so we're just going to move this thing out of the way and get the truck in here. Clean some of the other stuff and hold the transmission up so we can push the truck in. And I guess over the next couple days we'll get started on the rest of this stuff as far as the engine and everything else goes. But alright guys, so here's our third V8 small block Chevy. Essentially I'm just gonna be making a block off. Eric went and picked this up. A lot of stuff's been going on. The LT1, we're not sure yet. So the LT1, it requires a pretty, not to say substantial, but it has a couple things in it that don't allow us to use it like directly in line with this setup. So what I'm kind of getting at is there's the intake manifold. There's a specific one that's made for the bolt pattern on these heads, but it's out of stock. So we can't order one, which means we'd have to drill that one, which means we need to fill that one and then set up a jig so we can drill it properly so we can mount it on here. So that has to be done. The other thing is this has water ports on the back of the heads, and it's called like a steam tube or something like that, but either way, these need to run across to each other, and they also then need to vent to a high spot, somewhere in the radiator or something like that. So right now we don't have the piece that was here was pretty well screwed up. It was kind of coagulated with a bunch of stuff, so you couldn't actually open it, or get fluid to go through it. So due to that, like, we can get maybe some fittings here run and lines back over to the radiator or something like that. But that is, something we have to do and get parts for. And then up front here, we're gonna leave the OptiSpark in, but you have to use the water pump off of this engine. So it's got specific ports here, and we weren't able to find any aftermarket connections for our electric water pump. This is not the end of the world, once again, but the water pump that was on it, it's pretty built up in there. You have to go through a thorough cleaning. And then the outlet and inlet, they just don't really line up super great. So there's a couple challenges with that. We have a time constraint, with that one going bad, and in 3 weeks or 4 weeks we have burnout comp. Didn't seem like the LT1 was going to happen in time. So in the meantime, we got a high output 305 of an 85 Monte Carlo. So it's got its own kind of little differences, but those guys are going to get in some parts now. I'm going to be making a quick and dirty little block off plate here, and we'll just kind of go from there. All right, it's got a little block off plate installed. Get some I think Eric's picking up some RTV, so that'll work for a seal, but pretty easy, man. Gotta say, thanks to Swag Off-Road and Harbor Freight, you know, setting up this little saw makes this stuff pretty easy to do, so pretty happy with this purchase. All right, so we got both our kind of drop down pipes from the headers on. Just got those tack welded, but I'm gonna restab the engine, make sure they're good where they are, and then we can get into looking at, you know, where we're gonna run these, you know, down through. They kind of have to tuck under the transmission here, but we won't know until we see it in there. Is it thick enough, buddy?
Probably. It's better than that leaking oil everywhere. Better put extra silicone out.
Behind you.
Oh, it's all the way up here. Hold on.
All right, do the Bush commercial
I
now.
can't. I did it once. I can't do it again. It's not on command.
All right, so we've got the 85 high output 305 back in here, right?
Yep.
Pretty much we just need some flanges
For the exhaust.
for the exhaust. We got a kind of like 3-piece the exhaust. I'll see if I can kind of show you what I mean here through the camera, but header's gonna come down, and then we've got like a 90,
Which is right here.
which, yeah, right there. Don't mind all that. So we got the 90, which comes down off the header, and then we're gonna have to put a flange on that 90 to go to the rest of the exhaust that we're gonna be building. Just because everything is so tight in this swap between the subframe, the starter.
It's really just if we ever have to pull the motor back out, we can just unhook it there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we can't even get that 90 up in there.
Right.
If it had something on the end of it. So the other side, driver's side's not too bad. But either way, so just gotta get some flanges, finish up the exhaust stuff. Gotta get an O2 bung. And then radiator's good still, so we just gotta put that back in.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. It's really
All the plug wires are ran, should be timed right.
obviously we'll have to do a bunch of carb tuning, but
Fuel lines hooked up. We went down to 69 primaries, and I did like
Nice.
72 secondaries for
yeah.
the rear bowl. So hopefully it's right where it needs to be. I can't remember what was in it to begin with. I know that they were drilled out, whatever they were.
right. It's crazy how much space there is in here when there's no headers coming through the hood. It's kind of nice. It's like,
We gotta go pick up the other hood too.
yeah, we gotta go pick up the other hood for this. Like at that point, I think we can have a fully,
Might have a full fascia truck again.
yeah, like it's gonna be pretty much stocky looking. But
Until it starts.
Then we've got our quote unquote busted 305.
Eventually we'll tear down.
Tear down, figure out what went wrong on it. I don't think like
Wristband, vent rod, something.
yeah, whatever went wrong on this isn't going to stop that necessarily from being a candidate for a backup at some point, if need be. It's not really.
It's not like it put
worth
a hole in the
it,
block.
But yeah, it didn't mess up the block. And then the LT1, we kind of talked about the things of that. The parts are coming in next week, but that's kind of like a, I don't know what we want to call that.
Let's see, I guess it's more or less a when we feel like it.
So yeah, it's like a when we feel like it swap. I mean, minus the things.
That one will probably make sure we have all our ducks in a row before we go throwing something in.
Yeah. I think this one's going to do fine.
For a little while.
For a while, and being that it's NA, we shouldn't really have too many expectations, or we shouldn't expect. Cool. But we shouldn't expect anything to go super wrong with it. Hopefully, it performs and it just kind of does what the other 305 did, which was it performed. It also could be a daily, so it wasn't at a high enough level that it was impossible to drive or not straight up to drive. And this should be able to do that with a little bit higher level. It's just the extra stuff that we have to do to get it in there. You just want to make sure it's right, and then I'm sure there's also some various other things we might run into. I know this was out of an automatic car, so I know there might be some stuff. I don't know if there was something.
Out of an automatic car.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so either way, it's just when it gets there, I guess. If I don't know what this will be, I don't know what your thoughts are, Eric, as far as this one. I think should be a little bit more powerful stock for stock over.
Yeah, all the reading I was doing, it's going to have a better cam, even if it wasn't the high output, than what that has in it, because at idle, that barely made any vacuum. It barely made enough vacuum to activate the brake booster.
Right.
But this has a higher lift cam in it than the factory, like the regular 305s did back in '85. So really, that's all. Has a little bit better flowing heads, I guess, is what. But the biggest thing I think is going to be the cam.
Yeah. So hopefully that one kind of surprises us as far as how it can perform. I mean, like the other 305, it didn't not perform. I just don't think it was. I think we were limited in first gear, right? As far as burnouts go, it was.
Yeah.
It was kind of that was the main. I don't want to say that was the main motivator for the turbos, because the turbos was kind of just like.
Why not?
Well, might as well, but it was also the thing. I mean, if we were going to go to another burnout comp with it, we were still going to be limited in first gear. So hopefully this has enough, and we can do second gear. It's not like first gear is impossible, but with the RPMs, we could be in a sweeter spot, higher wheel speed. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, guys. It's not completely finished yet, but for the sake of getting, this is what, the third week now?
I don't know.
We ran into a lot of stuff, starting with realizing that LT1s are
a lot different than a regular small block.
And really a lot of it is this.
Yeah, it's all in the intake.
I mean the vent pipes or whatever, the steam pipes, it's not really a big deal, you know what I mean? But
we just don't really know where to run them right now.
Yeah. But the intake, that was kind of like, oh shit, it's gonna be like $460 for a back ordered intake.
Yeah.
It's not to say, I mean, we have the other intake, which hopefully Andy will have welded up soon. We'll see if it works. It might not be survivable. It might not go back together, but if we do, I got stuff to have the means to drill the other intake, typical small block Chevy intake to fit on this.
Did he fill all the holes? Like even the factory hole?
Yeah, that was the idea.
Okay.
I told him to do that. I told him he could leave the outside four, but
who knows what he did.
Yeah, but they're already were kind of weird. So either way, I mean that might be part of it too. Like maybe the price for the Performer intake for the LT1 drops, and it becomes available, and it's just like, oh hey, let's just do that right at some point. I don't know. It doesn't hurt to have a second engine that can run in a truck that you beat the living crap out of. So that's kind of nice, and also knowing that engine should be a little bit better performer. This should be a better performer. That's a better performer.
We didn't go backwards.
Yeah, so
we're at least level or a little bit higher with this motor.
Yep. But all right, guys, that's gonna be pretty much it for this one. We're gonna get this thing finished up, and then hopefully it's done. It'll be driving, and we can go do some stuff with it and try not to break it really fast.